saw a familiar face walking on the avenue. Both surprised by the way we looked. The years had changed us too.
Hello again. Welcome to another episode of Gung Ho. It's May 9th, 2025. I'm here with my co-host, Jim Henry. Again, we're both criminal defense attorneys. Jim does mostly civil rights. I did everything, mob, drugs, murders. It's also the 50th anniversary of the fall of Saigon, and Netflix is running a new series right now called The Turning Point. I started watching it, and I'm learning things that I never knew. I'm going to continue watching it. I can't help but think about all the friends that were with me that were killed all in their prime. Every single one in their prime. All college, I'm talking about the officers.
Right.
They were all in their prime, all college grads, and the enlisted men, they were all in their prime. And I don't think any of them were high school grads. They were 18, 19 years old. No high school grads. Black, Latino, poor whites, all for nothing. How's that?
Well, it's a sobering thought. I've had friends who fought in Vietnam and came back completely changed, just like you were. I think it was a war that took a lot of people's souls in addition to their lives. So the Vietnamese lost at least 1 million, 2 million people, and we don't talk so much about them, but they're still paying a price. They're, Laos and those areas.
They lost way more than that.
Really?
Kissinger went to see, not Kissinger, the architect of the war.
McNamara.
McNamara went to see the North Vietnamese, and he said, we killed you 10-1. They lost 5 million people. I'm talking about civilians and Viet Cong and NVA, 5 million. And the guy responded to him, it didn't make a difference. Didn't make a difference.
Well, they were battling for their national independence, and we've, now Vietnam has become a big trading partner in the United States. So we have a lot of U.S. companies that are buying stuff from them. Trump's tariffs hit Vietnam with a 49% tariff. I mean, they're, it's kind of off the wall, but they've become
One more thing that's really bad. Anytime you talk about Vietnam, when Ken Burns did that documentary, he didn't really get into it, but we sprayed Agent Orange in Vietnam for 10 years. 10 years. Everyone that served, like me, were exposed to it. I was exposed for 13 months. There are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of victims of Agent Orange going on right now. The United States has not paid one dime to help them, although they are cleaning out some of the toxic spots. It costs hundreds of millions of dollars to clean out toxic spots like Da Nang, but not one dime to help anybody that was affected. We now, it took us maybe 30 years for the government to come around and say, oh, you're right. They did the epidemiological studies.
Yeah,
You're
epidemiological study. Yeah.
So that's the legacy of this war, this fucking Agent Orange.
I think it affected a whole generation. Certainly my generation had a completely different view of this country as a result of seeing what it did in Vietnam and and we didn't succeed in stopping the war. We slowed it down. They ultimately had to withdraw in 1975. but they were there for decades, and it was a very, I think, searing experience for many people in that
It
generation.
was,
But we didn't seem to learn from it. We went into Iraq, we went, we're
You
now.
don't learn from it unless you
Just,
were there.
Yeah.
You learn the lesson being there. And the main lesson was, don't trust the fucking government. That was the main lesson we learned. But you had to be there to realize that. So that, when these presidents take us to war, like Bush and Obama and
Trump. I mean,
Trump, they
right
have
now,
no idea what they're doing. They have no idea what the consequences are.
it's a good segue to the topic I wanted to focus on this morning. We call this program High Noon, and I think constitutional issues are just coming right to the point right now. The Vietnam War was an example of a war that was never approved by Congress.
And here's the point, the lead-in.
Yeah, well,
All of those veterans, all the ones that got killed, and all the veterans that came back, and the President of the United States, every single one, they took an oath, and it started out that we would defend the Constitution against all enemies, domestic and foreign, and here we are. We're at the point where we have to defend our Constitution against a domestic enemy, and he's the worst, most serious, dangerous motherfucker ever.
well, he's certainly a threat to the Constitution. The United States has had a lot to deal with, a lot of bad guys. But this weekend, he made the statement that he didn't know whether he had to uphold the Constitution. He didn't know whether due process was required for immigrants. He's not a lawyer. Well, I thought I'd bring along the Constitution, which most Americans basically have never read. If you want a free copy of this, get in touch with us. We'll provide you with a free copy of the U.S. Constitution. But here it is, Article 1. This is the rules that apply to the president. Before he enters on execution of his office, he shall take the following oath of an affirmation. I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of the President of the United States and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution is quite clear about what the authorities of the President are. And it also happens to say no title of nobility shall be granted by the United States. Which, goes against his tendencies to be a monarch. It gives Congress the power to lay taxes, Section 8, to regulate commerce with foreign nations. Trump has assumed those powers with his tariff measures in violation not only of U.S. law, but of the Constitution. It gives Congress the power to establish post offices and post roads, and Trump is shutting them down all over the country. It gives Congress the power to raise and support armies and to regulate militias and to make and declare war. Trump is doing that as we speak all over the Middle East. The latest episodes in Gaza, he's supported by giving Israel unlimited capacity to do damage. It's a continuation of what Biden was doing, but it's hasn't been approved by a vote of the Congress. So, we have all kinds of instances of where just in terms of executive authority, the president is violating his oath of office. We also have in the Constitution the Bill of Rights, which guarantees freedom of the press. It guarantees important rights like habeas corpus, the right to a jury trial. If you're accused of a crime, you're supposed to be confronted by a jury, go before a jury and be confronted by witnesses in public. None of this is being
Due process.
All the rights in the Constitution are specified in quite detail here. The privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended. It goes on. And if you read the Constitution, you will find 15 or 20 cases examples where Trump is clearly violating the Constitution. One of the most glaring ones is the emoluments clause. The president is not supposed to enrich himself while he's in office by having his family running around the world, basically taking pay-to-play contracts with countries like Dubai, which is an autocracy, and he's made billions in that market, selling crypto coins and setting up enterprises while he's in office.
I think Article 1 is actually the legislative.
Article 1 is legislative.
The president is Article 2.
Article 2, that's right.
And then the courts are Article 3.
That's right.
So I think the fact that legislative was Article 1 says something about, this is the way it is.
Well, the Congress is supposed to do its job, and they are supposed to take command of these policy issues. And if they pass legislation, they're supposed to make sure that the president actually executes the law.
Everything he's done is unconstitutional.
Well, it's a violation of Congress's.
Congress has abandoned
They've abandoned the field
yeah,
here.
right.
And
They're afraid to get primaries.
Alexander Hamilton, who's the New York delegate who voted in favor of the Constitution in 1787, said the sacred rights of mankind are not to be rummaged for among old parchments or musty records. They are written as a sunbeam in the whole volume of human nature by the hand of the divine itself, and can never be erased or obscured by mortal power. So I encourage you all to read this document, which starts, "We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, not the welfare of just the rich, and secure the blessings of liberty, do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States." New York had a constitution, 1777, and when it went to form the US government, it basically reserved for itself the right to defend the rights that it already had established, which included a Bill of Rights. So Trump is also, in addition to everything else he's doing, he's violating states' rights, because the original founders, the states that participated in founding the US Constitution, didn't sign up for the kind of dictatorship that we're seeing him try to establish here. So this is a moment of truth for the US. The reason we refer to High Noon, you tell them about the film. Yeah.
High Noon, Gary Cooper, and the woman was
Grace Kelly,
Grace Kelly.
1952.
It's about a sheriff in a town that knows that these outlaws are coming, and he can't rally the people around him. He has to do it himself. Everybody was cowed, and that's what's happening right now. Almost everybody is cowed. They're frightened of him. He's systematically going about destroying all our revered institutions like FBI, Department of Justice, the Supreme Court, and our legal profession. A big, it's gone.
Yeah, you see, yesterday's Times had a story about a well-known firm named Gibson Dunn, which I know very well because they've been going after environmental activists and representing UBS, which is a big, dirty Swiss bank. But they decided this week, because of Trump's pressure, that Gibson Dunn, this great big law firm, more than 2,100 lawyers, will no longer do immigration cases. They're not going to participate in the lawsuit to challenge the Trump administration's illegal behavior with respect to ICE and detentions and sending people to El Salvador without any trial. So that's an example. All these big law firms, which are, they take an oath too when they become lawyers, as you know.
To the rule of law.
To observe the rule of law and to represent the poor, to help people without means of representing themselves. They have obligations as attorneys. These law firms have basically abandoned their professional duties. I think they should be held to account by the grievance committee of the Bar Association. But they've seen that Trump threatened to take away their big contracts, and their clients started to call up and say, we're gonna leave if you don't settle this. So they've given the Trump administration $1 billion of free legal services.
And a lot of that is gonna be to defend cops that have been accused of wrongdoing, and detectives and prosecutors. That's what it's gonna be used for.
Yeah, it's not gonna be used to defend immigrants or, people who get caught up in this Gestapo-like raids that we're seeing going on all over the place. So, yeah, we're in for some times of trouble, and it's up to more ordinary citizens to get aware of what your constitutional rights are. Remember, this is why we're here. Ultimately, it's not just to have jobs and employment and economic income. You can do that in China. You can do that in lots of dictatorships around the planet. This is a democracy, and it has a Bill of Rights.
There's an organization out there that's been having demonstrations, and they're carrying a sign saying, "We the people." I got one of their signs, but underneath that, it says, "Are the only answer." That means it's gonna come down to,
Well, it's gonna come down to, like it always has. I think the original, American Revolution and the Constitution, relatively few people got really involved in that. And it was up to them to lead the way and to make sure that we were, taking a stand.
we're at the point where he has to go. He has to be deposed. He is so poisonous to us, to democracy, to global democracy. And he's got this strange affection for dictators, especially Putin. And when you put it all together, we have come to the decision that he is a Russian asset. And he has been a Russian asset for a long time. And you just have to look back on his history with the Soviet Union and with Russia, and how he survived. Tell how he survived.
Well, basically, I think the thing is, he's more than a Russian asset. He's an organized criminal. He's a sexist. He's a rapist. He's a bunch of things. But the bottom line is, he would not be where he is today without the financing he got from Russian oligarchs. And we have a whole history about that we've gone into many times on this show. But right now he's showing some independence of Russia. I think Putin has discovered, he's waked up, and maybe he has buyer regret because Trump is showing a little bit of independence. But in the case of the Ukraine, he basically sold out the Ukraine, cut off weapons to the Ukraine.
And intelligence.
And intelligence almost completely. And then now he's starting to trickle stuff back in because he sees that was a very unpopular position with American veterans specifically.
And what he's doing in Gaza, he's participating in a genocide.
He is. He's underwriting a genocide that keeps on going. His recipe for Gaza was to expropriate it and become a Riviera, which is absurd. But, Putin is today celebrating the anniversary of
Victory in Europe.
Victory in Europe. Yesterday was Victory in Europe for Europe. But there's marches in Moscow today. Putin's been in power for 25 years. You take a look at what's happened to Russia during that period. The population has declined from 146 million in 2000 to about 143 million now. By the year 2050, it's going to be 90 million. People are not having kids in Russia. People are leaving. Technology is flowing out of the country. They become nothing but an oil exporter. They're completely dependent on energy exports. They don't have a technical base. And so that's kind of, that's the Russia that Trump is playing with.
He launched a war that he thought would be over in a matter of weeks, and it's now 3 years.
Yeah.
And it's draining them of their resources, their men and women. It's horrible. It's going on both sides. Hundreds of thousands of men and women have been killed on the battlefield because they're soft targets. The technology is so advanced that they could send a drone to kill one person if they want, and they do it.
Yeah.
And it's horrible.
Well, 50% of the Russian fleet is at the bottom of the Baltic. as a result of the drones. There's a lot of talk about how Russia was going to roll over Ukraine. It isn't happening. It won't happen. Putin, I think, is feeling, his economy has stopped growing. It was the first quarter of this year, it was negative. They propped it up for a while by borrowing and spending money on the military. But they're looking at a scenario where they're running out of manpower, turning to North Korea, turning to Ethiopia to import troops to fight in the Ukraine. And they can't keep up with the drones. So this is a critical time, a high noon for Ukraine right now. And so fortunately, a lot of Europeans, countries have recognized the need to support Ukraine. I think that we're going to see Trump put in a position of having to talk Putin out of this war, and that's going to be embarrassing for both of them. So anyway, every day there's a blizzard of new developments from this administration. But
One good development, he got rid of the U.S. attorney in D.C. That guy was
Ed Martin, yeah.
Nuts.
well, he was, let's say kindly, he was the guy who defended all of the people who were involved in the insurrection. And he's had a lot of strange bedfellows. But the new replacement, I don't know who
I know
that is, but what is she like?
She's a
Pietro, what was her?
she's a really tough prosecutor, and she absolutely adores Trump, and that's why she got the job.
How can she call herself a tough on crime if she is working for a felon, convicted felon? And we know more than anybody does about all of his other crimes that went unprosecuted. But how can she justify it to herself?
It's
Is it just blind ambition? She wants the
it's
power?
ambition. Yes, it's ambition.
He's got a lot of toadies. If you notice the collection of toadies in his cabinet, there's just no distinguished people there at all. They're all.
Well, that's one way. Every important institution he puts in a crony, and they don't know what they're doing, because he wants to destroy that institution, like the FBI. He wants to destroy everything.
Well, Hegseth, we knew, had a history of alcoholism. Does she have a history of alcoholism?
No, not that
Yes,
I
she
know.
does.
No.
Janine Pirro was pinched with driving while intoxicated.
Well, we won't get into that. Let her defend that
Well, she's
somewhere
got
else.
a
But
history of alcohol.
I want to be fair to her. I mean, let's give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she's better than Ed Martin.
Oh, she is. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Anybody, I think,
Anybody would be better than Ed
him.
Martin.
Yeah.
But okay.
Well,
Well,
but the good thing is that, he gets to appoint every U.S. attorney throughout the land. I think there's 91 U.S. attorneys,
that's her job?
and that's her job in D.C. The president could fire all of them. I think Clinton did when he came into office. He fired 91 U.S. attorneys across the land and appointed people he wanted. That's the president's prerogative. He could do that. But they have to muster by Senate. They have to be approved by the Senate.
Right.
So that's the backstop, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I don't think there's a backstop. It sounds like he's going to appoint a lot of, puppets, and that's going to be a problem for having any serious, certainly a problem for prosecuting any serious environmental crimes, any serious white-collar crimes, any of the banksters that we've looked at a lot. They're getting a pass. He's opened the door to money laundering. The crypto deregulation is just a panacea for anyone who wants to launder money in the world. He's taken the rules off, with respect to reporting who owns what in the United States. So foreign crooks can come here and invest freely. They can spend $5 million and get a U.S. passport. It's just open season. I think if you're involved in transnational crime, he talks a lot about going after the fentanyl cartel, but the rest of the cartels are celebrating.
Something we touched on this, that Trump Tower was infested with Russian gangsters. They came in and they bought condos there, no questions asked. In fact, we found out that one of the main enforcer for the Russian mafia had a condo in Trump Tower, and it was
Yeah.
filled with Russians. And a reminder: Russia is a mafia state. Nothing happens unless Putin gives the approval.
Well, that's kind of sadly where we're headed if we don't have some organized resistance to this, because imagine the scenario in which we don't take back the Congress in 2026, we don't have courts stop the illegal deportations. This is just becoming, a kind of a police state.
Well, the way Trump is operating now is the way the mafia did. I'll protect you. You got to give me something, like the big law firms.
Yeah.
I'll protect you. What's the consideration? Oh, yes, give me $100 billion in pro bono work, and I'll determine what you do with it. It's like the mafia.
Yeah.
It's a protection
It's
racket.
extortion.
Yeah, extortion.
And he's doing the same thing with universities. My university, Harvard, decided to stand up to him and sue him, and immediately their grants were canceled. And they lost their tax status. So that's being litigated, but it's gonna take time.
All right, we're almost gone.
But, this is a
I'm
time
just going
for,
to say one more
to be,
thing.
time to watch the film High Noon and to come out of the streets.
And remember this, in our Declaration of Independence, we threw off the rule of King George III, and it also says that we could toss off the rule of any other tyrant that comes along. It's the law in the Constitution. It says we have the right and the duty to depose of another tyrant that comes along, and we are there. We are there. So, and it's going to be interesting.
Thanks a lot, Joe.
All right.
I saw a